Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. This is another episode of Birminology, where we talk to Ohio State recruits, Ohio State recruiting targets, Ohio State commitments, and anyone else associated with Ohio State recruiting that will talk to us. Today, we're going to speak with Ian Moore, Ohio State's latest commitment in the class of 2024, and get thoughts on his decision, why he picked Ohio State when he did, and where he sees things going from here in the Buckeyes 2024 recruiting class. So enough of my yammering. Let's get to Ian Moore from New Palestine, Indiana. Ian Moore joins us now on Birminology. Ian, thank you for taking time. It's been a couple days since you announced that you had made the decision to commit to Ohio State. How has life changed since Thursday?
No, not much other than the fact that I don't have to watch as many college football teams. Life is normal. I don't got to worry about, contacting coaches every other day, keeping up with recruiting on, 4 or 5 different teams. It's slowed down a lot.
Is that one of the primary reasons to make a decision as early as you did? It's sort of an offensive lineman thing. A lot of you guys at your position seem to not really be into all this hype and everything that comes with the process. But is that, in your mind, probably the biggest benefit to making an early decision?
Probably that. And most people around my age, around this time, they're still trying to get, big offers, and they're trying to build up their offer list. I didn't really care about that. Ohio State felt like home, and so I realized that it didn't. I didn't need any more offers, so I said, I pulled the trigger, and I was like, let's do this. So.
When did you feel that? I know you camped in June. That was your first opportunity to really work with Justin Fry up close and personal. You came back at the end. I don't think you came back in summer. You came back September 4th for the Notre Dame game, and then 3 weeks later for the Wisconsin game. Was it just a slow building process? Was it an instantaneous, like, oh, this is it? Where did the feeling of knowing that was the right spot hit?
It probably, like, the first, so before the camp, I had visited, I think, maybe the week before or something like that. I can't remember the exact date, but I took an unofficial there, then came back for the camp. Then I was like, this is really nice. I could see myself playing here. I can see myself, that was when it was just, a top 5 in my list of schools. Then we went to the Notre Dame game, and it just felt like it was instant. It was instantaneous when I stepped onto that field and saw everybody and felt the energy.
For a guy like yourself, Ian, back, I think it was in February, you were unranked nationally. Now at rivals.com, we have you as the number 31 ranked player in the entire country, the top ranked offensive tackle prospect in the country. Can you try to put into words just how insane these last 7-8 months have been for you? Because it seems like, again, you're in New Palestine, Indiana. You guys play great football there. It's not a knock on that, but a lot of people may not even know of it because, it's not one of the big schools around the country. But to go from being a relative unknown to now being the second commitment in Ohio State's class of 2024, you and the only other guy committed is Dylan Raiola, the number 1 player in the entire country. Can you even try to put into words how nuts that all is?
Honestly, no. The journey I've had from the start, I came from a town where it was less known than New Palestine. And so, coming from there to where I am now, it's just been a crazy ride.
What do you attribute it to? What do you think changed in your game from last season, your sophomore season, to this past summer when everyone really started to get hip?
I think my confidence was definitely. So my freshman year, I barely had any. We had at my old school, we had a senior, he flunked out. And so I had to step up into that starting role. And I had no confidence in myself. It was my, I think, 3rd or 4th year playing football. So, going from, barely knowing the game to just stepping into a starting role, I had virtually no confidence in myself. And then I came here and I worked up and I went to camps and I saw, hey, I could be a Division I athlete. And then it was a great confidence booster. And I think that's what made the biggest difference.
One of the things that's interesting about your high school, New Palestine, is that you have, we're talking college-sized offensive line across the board. I think you guys averaged almost 6'5", 300 pounds across the board. You are the lone non-senior starting on your group. How important has it been for you to work with guys like Luke Burgess, a Louisville commit, to really figure out what you have to do to be prepared for this process and to handle it the way you have?
I mean, he's been a great help trying so with my first visits, he kind of, walked me through the process of like what I should do, who I should try and talk to, all this stuff. But Coach Ralph, I mean, he's been through every single level of it. So he's been the main help. Yeah, I mean, you got my right guard, Thomas Wood. He's got a Division I FCS offer. Our center's got a couple D3 offers. Our left guard's got some D3 looks, and I mean, they've all been on visits. They've all done all of this stuff. So I mean, they've all just been a great help in this process.
For you now that you're committed, I assume, you've heard from a number of guys around the country in the last few days, including I saw on Instagram and other stuff, a lot of the 2023 commitments reaching out to you guys like Luke Montgomery, et cetera. You probably had an opportunity to meet them this summer, I'd imagine, and then hanging out with them at the Notre Dame game and the Wisconsin game. How important is just feel and that vibe, that connection that you had with the other players in the class? Because just from my outside looking in perspective, you guys all kind of seem pretty much alike.
Honestly, it's the most important thing to me. No matter what, I mean, college football is a business now. So, I mean, you're going to have coaching changes, you're going to have staff changes. Everything's going to change eventually. And so, I mean, that feel with the players that are there and are going to be there is the most important thing to me.
You brought it up, so I'm going to try to drill down a little bit on that. One of the things I think that probably made this decision even easier than it otherwise would have been for you is that a number of the other schools you were looking at, Nebraska, Wisconsin, both have made coaching changes this season. Iowa, another program you've been very high on, they've been struggling a little bit. How much does, as a recruit, one or two games matter versus the overall trend of what's going on in a program?
I mean, one or two games. I mean, like us this last Friday, we had a rough first half, actually rough first three quarters. But you're always going to have bad games. You're always going to have negative points in your season. But it's really the overall, how you bounce back from it, if you bounce back or not. And it's just if you can face adversity or not is really the most important thing to me. Because if I don't feel like I can be comfortable losing, then I'm not going to be comfortable winning.
I appreciate a lot of the times, just like I said, offensive linemen and the way you guys handle your business. You make your decisions, you move on. People only hear from you if we, in the media reach out to you. It's not like you're out there on social media doing a lot of stuff. Are you comfortable in this role of potentially being a recruiter for Ohio State now that you're in the class? Because as I said, as the second commitment, but you're also the one that's 3 hours from Columbus as opposed to Dylan, who's, 20 hours away from Columbus. Do you feel like that's a role that you are wanting and looking forward to, or is it something you begrudgingly would say, you know what, I'll do it, but I'm not going to push anyone?
I mean, I'm not going to, try and force somebody to go to Ohio State, but I mean, I'll reach out. Honestly, the day of my commitment, Mylan Graham, he's a receiver in Indiana. He reached out to me, said congrats. And I was like, so I reached out back to him. I was like, when are you going to get over here? So, I mean, that first day I kind of stepped into that role, but I'm not going to, try and force anybody to come here. I mean, it's all their decision. It's how they like it. If they don't, I mean, I wouldn't want somebody to force me, so I'm not going to force somebody else.
Now, with all this stuff going on around college football, has it been harder than you expected to block out the noise of NIL, of coaching changes, of all the business stuff? Or has it been actually, because you have good people around you, like Coach Ralph at New Palestine, have they been able to help keep this stuff pretty well compartmentalized?
So, I mean, you're always going to have people like the day I committed, every single student, I'd be walking through the hallway. How much did they pay you? How much did they do this? And I mean, most people don't realize that it's not all about money. Like some people like me, I couldn't care less about money. I just want to get my degree, play football, possibly go to the next level. So, I mean, it's been more me blocking out the noise. I mean, Coach Ralph, my dad played college football, but he wasn't around for all this NIL stuff. It's been them kind of shielding kind of shielding me, but it's mainly just been me trying to like ignore people and blocking it out.
You didn't grow up an Ohio State fan. You're in Indiana. You probably grew up dreaming of Notre Dame or Indiana or one of these more local schools. But as a recruit, did you find it easy to turn off being a fan and focus on just what you needed? Or was there always still this sort of pull in the back of your mind, like, oh, if only this school would reach out?
No, honestly, I mean, like, there's been schools that I've been fans of in the past. Then as a recruit, they'll do something that you don't really like. So, I mean, I just kind of shut it off. If I'm on a visit, like growing up, I'm always probably going to be a Notre Dame fan. Growing up, I'm from northern Indiana. I was 2 hours away from Notre Dame's campus. I mean, we always went to games there. So going on visits there, I mean, you just have to shut out like being a fan, because I mean, if you, I mean, as a fan, like most high school students, a lot of students from where I'm from, they went to Purdue because they like Purdue.
Yeah.
But as a football player, if you don't like the football program, then you can't, as a fan, you just can't be like, I'm a fan of this place, so I'm going to go there. So you kind of have to shut it off. You can't take into account the teams you actually like as a fan. Because as a fan, I hate Ohio State. Hated Ohio State as a fan because they always beat my football teams. Like, they'd always beat Purdue. They'd always beat Indiana, the teams I grew up, watching. So as a fan, I hated them. But, I mean, look at me now. So
the closet has to change quite a bit. I mean, how hard is that? Have you and your family just had a big, garage sale where you take all the other clothing and move it out?
I mainly just give it to my sisters. They like oversized clothing, and I'm a big guy, so I just hand it down to them.
What do you want to do, outside of football? What interests you? I know you mentioned, you want to go to college and get a degree and maybe get a chance to play at the next level. What do you want to study at Ohio State?
So I'm leaning between two things. It's either kinesiology, because I've always wanted to become a physical therapist, help athletes. Because I mean, I've never been through like a rough injury, but I've been through injuries. I actually, this season, the first season, I got benched on the sideline because of an injury.
Yeah.
And it felt horrible. And I don't want athletes to go through that, because I hated it. So because I kind of want to step into a athletic director role, maybe for high school, become a high school coach. Because I mean, I just always want to be around the game of football.
What as you're trying to develop here, you've finishing up your junior year, trying to win a state title. 1 year of high school left. What do you think you need to make the biggest strides on the field to make sure that when you do get to Columbus, maybe next January, that you feel like you're able to fight for some playing time early in your time there?
I mean, the biggest thing is strength. Honestly, that's strength and speed is the biggest change in games between high school and college. That's what my dad said. That's what Coach Ralph said. I've got a buddy that I did a couple camps with. He goes to Louisville right now. His name is Sam Seacrest. He says that. So really just improving. Like, I mean, I'm a pretty strong kid compared to like the average high school football player, but I just improving that. And then, minor things, footwork details, just like the little small details that you need to perfect to, be a great football player.
Can you walk me through the camp setting that you had with Justin Fry and what it was about him as a coach that clued you into the fact that he knew what he was talking about and that he was the type of guy you wanted to play for?
He takes into account a lot of the new stuff, games changed since the 80s, 90s. And he realizes that everyone's more athletic now. I mean, it's not just hammering. I mean, yeah, some teams do run just like straight power, straight inside zone. But I mean, he realizes that it's not just that anymore. So, and then his energy, he doesn't act like he's a 60-year-old coach. I mean, he's not, but he's a young and energetic coach. And I just really like that. And just he wasn't scared to, yell in your ear and get in your face. But then he also would, pull you aside, coach you in a calm voice. So, I mean, it was great to see him push you and then step aside and coach you.
I know you had said that you'd obviously watched Ohio State prior to this season, even if you weren't a fan of theirs. But now, as you've watched what he's done with the offensive line, seeing what Paris Johnson looks like out there at offensive tackle in his first season at tackle, seeing the improvements in DeJuan Jones, another guy from Indiana, do you see that playing out on the field, and how exciting is it for you just to kind of see what the Ohio State offense is and to know that you get to be a part of that?
It's crazy, honestly. When I went to that Notre Dame game, when I went to that Wisconsin game, the offensive line was just burying people, and it was, most people they think when they see Ohio State, they think of receivers. So that means pass game, but to see them run the ball, and just bury people, it was incredible.
That sort of versatility is what I think makes you an interesting prospect, because it's not just an offense that runs the ball. It's not just an offense that passes the ball. And there are not many true offensive tackles around the country, whether it's in the junior class or the senior class, who are capable of pass protecting or working in a run, style of offense. And you have the ability to do both. Who, outside of Coach Ralph in these last 2 years, as far as development goes, who do you really attribute, or who do you give the credit to for the player that you've become and just the kid who understands football the way you do?
Probably my offensive line coach, Coach Buchanan. I've honestly, Coach Ralph has kind of helped me through the recruiting process of it, but he coaches the running backs for our team. He coaches the DBs and the running backs. So, he's not down here with us. So Coach Buchanan he has taught me everything that I know today. And so every single attribute I have, I have to give it to him. I have to thank him for it.
What's next for you? Obviously, going out and trying to win a state title, we already mentioned that, but is there a plan, I assume, to be back in Columbus for the game on November 26th against Michigan? Is there any opportunity or thought to getting there for the November 12th game against Indiana?
So it's playoffs. So we have film on Saturday if we win. So hopefully I can't make it to the 12th game, but our state game would be on the 25th. So I'm hoping I can make it to the Michigan game.
Well, hopefully we don't see you on November 12th, as you said, and you can just keep doing what you're doing. Congratulations again, Ian. I don't want to take too much more of your time. Like I said, it is a beautiful day outside, and I'm sure that we both know there's not many of these left in the Midwest right now. So get outside and do something fun. And I really do appreciate you taking time. Congratulations on your commitment.
Thank you.
That is Ian Moore, New Palestine, Indiana, class of 2024 Ohio State tackle commitment. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. This has been Birminology on the podcast. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.